A new Master Duel ban list is here, and we're going to be using this ban list in its entirety on twitch.tv/DK this Sunday in a $1,000 tournament qualifier, as we're also going to be doing tons of leaks throughout the entire stream, as we're also streaming 1 hour earlier for that day. If you're about to craft something, I'm telling you right now to wait, because there are a lot of reprints that I'm going to be leaking on that day. It's to celebrate the Road to Worlds campaign. I'm also leaking alternative arts. All the alt arts are going to have animations. Also, I'm leaking 2 new deck type supports for the June selection pack, where at least one of them is definitely a meta deck. So look out for that. I'll see you on Twitch. Now let's go back on over here. Let's click on the tier list before the ban list. You can see Tier 1, Blue Eyes, Fiendsmith Control, and Snake Eye Fiendsmith. Now, Fiendsmith Control is the newest deck here, thanks to Primite and the Lacrima Crimson Tears that just came out. And, you know, Primite did boost up Blue Eyes to Tier 1, but Lacrima Crimson Tears is technically the newest addition to the tier list, which also helped boost Snake Eye Fiendsmith from Tier 2 back to Tier 1. Now, everything else is pretty much miscellaneous. We don't even have a Tier 2 at the moment. Master Duel is in a calm before the storm state right now. And what that means is, let's go on over to Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta. Click on the tier list here. I'm going to expand this to 3 months because they've been having some ban lists that has been changing stuff up. As you can see, this is the storm. Malice and Ryzeal. This is why the latest ban lists haven't really been that impactful, because whatever happens or is happening in Master Duel, it does not matter, because once Ryzeal or Malice comes out, that will then be the new best deck. Now, of course, they could possibly pre-hit one of these decks quite heavily before their release. Maybe they won't, though. We don't really know. And I don't think they'll be coming out the same time like they did in the TCG and OCG. And then, you know, we would have a top 2 deck meta once the second deck comes out afterward. So we're pretty much just waiting for one of these 2 decks. And if you're really hating the meta in Master Duel, that's a huge downside for you, that they're not willing to hit the current decks, nor that maybe they shouldn't even hit the current decks, because then these 2 new decks are going to be way better than them already. So it's in a really weird spot we are in Master Duel because of these 2 upcoming decks that everyone knows about. So let's go back and over to the ban list with that context. Let's click this. We have June 1st is when the ban list is coming. Spright Blue from 2 to 3. Okay, it's limited to 1 in the OCG. Ain't no way. Wow. Okay. So the blue is back. All right. Speaking of a 2-deck format, this was Spright versus Tier Limit back in the day. And yeah, it's already been 2 years. That is crazy. Okay. Spright Blue. Cool. Nadir Servant from 2 to 3. This card's got some history. This was limited to 1, if I remember correctly, then semi-limited, then unlimited, and then semi-limited again, and now we're here where it's back to being unlimited. Now, let's click on this to see what's being used with this. We have Voiceless Voices using it. Dogmatica, of course, is using it, which is not a top-tier deck. This is what I call collateral damage, which I really hate with ban lists in Yu-Gi-Oh!, where they don't think enough about the other decks, the rogue decks, when they're trying to hit the top-tier decks. This is TCG hitting a deck like Sharks for no reason with hitting Bahamut Shark. Not cool. Now, the same thing happened in Dogmatica when they did absolutely nothing wrong, and I think Labyrinth was the culprit. If I remember correctly, it was dominating the Duelist Cup. Nadir Servant was what they wanted to hit because they didn't want to hit anything else. And I guess Voiceless Voice is going to be enjoying that nice new boost to 3. What I want to do is look at more reasoning for why they possibly unhit this. Let's look at the TCG stats. You can see Stun. Okay, Stun is using this. Maybe there's an upcoming deck in the OCG we'll look at also. Well, Stun has really fallen off, and I know no one's shedding a tear for that, but maybe Konami is, because Stun has now fallen off due to Drill Beam. Drill Beam is able to banish away any of their floodgates. Now, I am heavily against floodgates, but I also believe in blame the game, not the player. So if you're a player that enjoys floodgates and plays them, you should be playing what you feel to be the most enjoyable and most effective strategy for you. You do you, that is great. Now, Uh, Konami, really? Are we boosting up stun though? Hopefully that's not the case. Maybe it's for a future deck instead. Let's see. OCG. Because now I'm thinking, is the rest of the ban list going to maybe have an unhit on a floodgate? Please no. That would be the worst ban list ever. OCG. We have Regenesis. Maybe Konami, Copium, is getting ready for an upcoming deck like Regenesis that they don't want to have it be on release, be not as good. So, okay, that works out. Cool. Another deck that's not here because it hasn't been really doing well, but I play tested it a little bit, and that is Duel. Another ritual deck, great. You know, where you're supposed to be playing Nadir Servant pretty much, right? If you want to dump the Herald of Arclight to be searching for a ritual card. So this now, whenever it comes out, we'll be enjoying Nadir at 3. Happy to see that. Great. Let's hop back on over to the ban list. Nimble Beaver. This got limited to 1 because of Spright Blue. Not Blue specifically, but the Spright deck. You would Nimble Beaver, summon a Beaver from the deck, and then you have full Wham Bam Think Ma'am combo from there. And even more importantly, you have a card called Nimble Angler, where if since the graveyard, you could special summon 2 Beavers from the deck, and with only 1 Beaver, that obviously was not possible. But with Angler still being so good, we had to cope and use other Nimble cards, which was not cool. Like Nimble Sunfish, I don't think it even has a real effect. You're just summoning it off the Angler. So this really is a big deal for Spright. I think so. I know someone may be thinking, oh, just use Diva. Well, for the Angler purpose, the Beaver is much better. Now, let's keep on going. We have Spright Jet. Wait. Is that every single Spright card is now unlimited? No way. Well, let's see this real quick. Let's see this. Spright, unlimited, fully unlimited, in addition to the Nimble Beaver. What? Wow. I really want to go back to a top tier deck list of when Spright came out back in 2023. We got to look at and see if we could now build it better than then, because actually Spright Starter was semi-limited on release. We have never in Master Duel history had every single Spright card fully unlimited. And if we look at the elf here, it's banned in the TCG and OCG. The blue is limited in the OCG, limited to 1, and the OCG is the one who works on our ban list. The TCG doesn't even know what our ban list is about to be. They have no bearing or saying at all on our ban list. We have Jet also limited to 1 in OCG. It's wild how much they are hating on Spright in Japan. I guess what this means is they're going to use Master Duel to test this out, and then they'll be slowly unhitting the Spright cards in OCG. But, you know, we have to figure out something good with this deck, because I think this is a big deal. Angler is back with Beaver, fully unlimited Blue, fully unlimited Starter, fully unlimited Spright Jet. If I remember at the end of this video, I'm going to be bringing up a Spright deck from back in the day. Now, of course, I know someone may be thinking, DK, totally awesome. Yes, I know Totally Awesome is pretty much a Spright card, yes. And it is, well, I don't know. I didn't go through the whole ban list. Maybe that'd be crazy, right? Yeah, Totally Awesome being unbanned. But I would assume it probably isn't. But beyond that, we never had Totally Awesome available when Spright was playable. So this would be the best Spright has ever been in Master Duel history, that is. So let's see what's good. We didn't even have the Angler play on release, did we? Or maybe I'm misremembering. Let's keep on going, though. Cards to be semi-limited, okay? Maiden, whoa. What? I just went through a whole spiel of Calm Before the Storm, Melissa, Ryzeal, it's coming. So any other hits we do on the top tier decks right now is going to be for no good reason, because the Melissa Ryzeal is going to beat those decks anyway. Well, Konami doesn't care. What? Oh my Jesus. Okay, let me give further context to this ban list. This ban list will decide who is qualified for the World Championship. That is a big deal. And they don't want Blue Eyes to be at full power for the World Championship qualifier, I guess. And also, that means that the June pack I am leaking on Sunday, this Sunday, twitch.tv/Decade, is going to be the final main selection pack for the World Championship qualifier, which I guess, you know, the meta deck from there versus Blue Eyes now at Maiden at 2. Okay, interesting. That is something, because the Lacrima Crimson tier was already super boosting up the Fiendsmith decks, which Blue Eyes is not benefiting from. So I felt like Blue Eyes was already in a way kind of falling off a little bit. Is still definitely a super top tier deck, but wow, I am actually surprised by this. From March to now, okay, you know, 2 months, and then it got hit. Okay, well, let's keep on going. What is Konami? What are you doing? Branded Fusion? Semi-limited? What is going on? This was the new player deck campaign. That's what I predicted with the other ban lists, right? If I remember correctly, they were unhitting a bunch of branded cards. I couldn't make any sense of it. And then I predicted, I actually didn't have a leak on it. I just thought that maybe the new player deck is going to be a branded deck, and it actually was. But now this is getting semi-limited after we already got the new player deck. Maybe the new players are like, hey, this game sucks. My deck's not doing well. And now, are they going to update the new player deck with a second copy of Branded Fusion? They better, because what the heck? Wow, Branded Fusion. Eating good at 2 now. That is crazy. Now, if your Branded Fusion were to ever get banished, you do have a way to get it back with Kit, but not if it were to be banished face down, which, you know, randomly could happen sometimes. And, you know, Cashier Birth is going to be the main way to banish it face down. And I guess now with it at 2, you're going to be able to more consistently, oh my goodness, this may skyrocket the deck to tier 1. I don't know. This is going to be something. This is something. Oh boy. Let's keep on going. We have whoa. Maiden? Are we going to have a limit to 1 on Blue Eyes also? Konami, you know that Ryzeal or Melissa, it's coming. Like, you know that. I know that. You know that when it's coming, and you're going to hit the Blue Eyes deck but before it's coming? Really? If you all don't know, Blue Eyes is not hit in the TCG or OCG in any way at all. In fact, Ryzeal and Melissa came out, and then Blue Eyes, the new Blue Eyes cards, came out about a month after in the TCG and OCG. That's, you know, well, in the OCG, that's how it worked. And of course, the Blue Eyes wasn't that great because it was released among all these other much better decks, but then it changed for Master Duel. As you can see, fully unlimited. If we were to look at a Blue Eyes full version deck for TCG and OCG, you'll see nothing across the board even hit at all. So this really is a Master Duel exclusive where only Blue Eyes is hit and only Spright is unhit. What? Okay, we swapped them for how they are in the physical card game. They're making decisions. This is why it would be good for Konami to add notes to a ban list where maybe they would say, hey, don't worry, you all know that the Ryzeal and Melissa are coming. This is just a temporary hit for the World Championship qualifier, you know, and then maybe we'll unhit it after, or maybe Melissa Ryzeal is actually going to be at the World Championship qualifier, and we want you to move on from Blue Eyes and play Ryzeal Melissa if you weren't convinced that that is the new best deck to qualify for Worlds with. So here are some free semi-limits. I really am shocked by this. This is crazy. Okay. All right, Konami. Let's see. Let's keep on going. Cards to be limited. Bonfire from 2 to 1. It's now across the board limited to 1. Now, we're not going to be spoiling anything, but Diablo Star, I believe, is limited to 1 in the OCG. This is a hit. This also is a preemptive hit for Ryzeal. Ryzeal definitely uses Bonfire, so we could actually just open this up and see. The deck's currently using this. Snake Eye, obviously. Rescue Ace likes it. You know, poor Volcanic, sorry. And what else do we have here? Snake Eye moved on to Snake Eye Fiendsmith. Let's click on to the TCG stats. TCG, Ryzeal is loving it. They have it, as across the board, limited to 1. Ryzeal. What about OCG? Same thing? Any newer decks possibly? No. So this is a Snake Eye hit. But as I was saying, Diablo Star is limited to 1 in OCG, and maybe Diablo Star is also going to be hit on our ban list. Now, Original Sinful is banned in, I could click on this without spoiling. I'm not going to highlight anything. we could see that the this is a OCG. Click on TCG. There you go, banned. So this is why Snake Eye fell off in the TCG, if you're wondering. And if you want to know why did it fall off in the OCG, well, that's quite interesting because in the OCG, Snake Eye is very similar to what we have now, besides Diablo Star being limited to 1. I guess Diablo Star limited to 1, Bonfire, Ash, and Poplar, all those cards being limited to 1 was enough for the deck to completely fall off, where at the moment, unless we see in the rest of the ban list, Diablo Star being fully unlimited is the only extra benefit we have to maintain the relevance of Snake Eye compared to OCG. So we'll be looking at that. Let's go back on over to the ban list. Bonfire, yup. Ooh, are we saying Razil's coming? Konami, what are you doing? Calm down. What? Original Sinful from 3 to 1? Most people already playing this at 1. See, wait a sec. Is this a trade-off for Diablo Star? We limit this to 1, then we don't limit Diablo Star? Maybe they still limit Diablo Star. I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to look at that. But really? Okay, let's see the stats here. 50% are using at 1. The other 50% are 2 to 3. Okay, yeah, sure. You know, the majority of pure Snake Eye, but Snake Eye's kind of fallen off as a deck. Rescue Ace is already using at 1. So I guess with Bonfire being limited to 1, they didn't want Mad Lads to then up the count of Original Sinful instead. And there you go, for 50% of players, and maybe the other 50% were to have moved over to the 2 or 3 copies after that were to happen to the Bonfire. Okay, sure. And all these hits are going to be applied on the very next tournament we're having on this Sunday, $1,000 tournament qualifier. Okay, that is something. It's not like a super meaningful hit, but you know, it's just like a preemptive measure if where they feel like you're going to be going with the deck. If I go on to OCG, actually, I think it's the most popular way to play the deck. Yeah, at 2. At 2. 2 in Snake Eye Fiendsmith, 2 in Snake Eye. So in Japan's eyes, who controls our ban list, that is already leaning towards the better way to play the deck, and they're just cutting it off now. Sure. Okay. Let's see what else you have here. What? Full changes. Okay, Diablo Star didn't get hit. I think Original Sinful was the trade-off for Diablo Star. There's no other hits for Blue Eyes, not that there should be. And so Fiendsmith controlled and get touch. Spright full power. Oh my, let's look at this. And I'm remembering the Spright deck. I got to look at that. So, okay, let's try to understand what is going on here. Let's start off with the Spright deck. And a good way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to tournaments. We're going to look at an MCS tournament. It's got to be one of these early ones. I think the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th one. Let's see. February 18, 2023. Okay, this one was published in the update. Okay, we didn't have the Spright deck yet. We have, this was February. That is when Spright came out, yes? There you go, Spright. Now, Runic Spright was the most dominant deck, but if we look at Runic Spright real quick, obviously we can't play this at its full power because of the Runic hits, but if we look at Spright on release, look at that. There we go. We got this at full power. The game is limited to 1. We don't need that. We don't have Pot of P, but starter was at 2. Now fully unlimited. So Spright has more power now than when it did on release, and in fact, you may be wondering what's missing here, and it's the Spright Sprind. We didn't even have Sprind on release, so it's even more so better than it was than this. We have, and it's not just from a 3rd starter, it's also having Sprind plus the Angler combo, which he was playing without Sprind, crazy enough, so good on you for doing well with that. So, wow. Full power plus Sprind, Angler dump, summon 2 beavers. This is an incredibly hand trap resilient deck. If you're frustrated about being shut down by hand traps, this will be the deck to play. If you're frustrated about your hand traps not working against a deck, well, I'm sorry, Sprite's going to clap you up because you can't really hand trap this. You disrupt them, they go into Sprint, they summon 2 beavers, you try to disrupt that, they special summon another Spright. It's just endless. And then they shut down your Nibiru with Gigantic Spright, which Nibiru has actually been seeing a nice rise thanks to Fiendsmith Control using it. Wow. Okay, full power. And of course, we don't have Totally Awesome, which we never did. This is something. This is definitely something. Let's see what else we have here. The Nadir Servant, we were kind of covered that. Branded. So you want to see what's the best way to play Branded, right? Let's click on Branded. Branded's already on the tier list, but you know, it's like forever on the tier list. It's always at least at tier 3 because this is one of the highest skill ceiling decks that exists in Master Duel right now. I don't even want to say one of, I'm just going to say it is. It is the highest skill ceiling deck. If you're ever bored of Yu-Gi-Oh! And you want a real challenge, you want to play a deck with infinite replayability to infinitely learn and infinitely make changes with your deck, this is the deck, and it just got better with semi-limited Branded Fusion. So I think Konami maybe really likes the skill expression that this deck has, and they want to reward those good players with their deck being better, and maybe opening up the deck to lesser skilled players with Branded Fusion now at 2. So we could see some recent tournament tops here. Grass looking greener. The extra deck's cut off there because I zoomed in too much. So there's Grass looking greener, second place of the Guild of Gurus tournament. We then have a Meta Weekly top 8. And then we have Abomod. Also, I think this is back-to-back Abomod, where he decided to play 48 cards in the latest Meta Weekly event instead of his regular 60. So there you go. If you want a nice little showcase of a deck list to get ready for when the semi-limit happens, but you don't have to wait for the semi-limit. Get in early, right? Get started, or wait for the tournament on this Sunday. Maybe a lot more people are going to be playing Branded and do well at the deck. That will then convince you to just start playing the deck early, yeah? So that is good. Now let's go back on over to the other changes here. Yeah, I wanted to say some stuff about this. This is crazy. If we go on over to the Blue Eyes deck type page, we now have 100% at 3, 100%, you know, I don't know why someone was playing at 2. Probably some weird variant of Blue Eyes. They're maybe playing like Blue Eyes with Buster Blader or some nonsense. We just put them under Blue Eyes because why not? And if we click onto TCG, you will see that no hits, fully unhit. What about OCG? No hits, fully unhit. And it's, you know, the release date is kind of the weird thing that's different with Master Duel and in the physical card game, where if we look at a card like Ryzeal, let's type in Ryzeal real quick. Ryzeal Detonator came out in the OCG August 2024, and then Maiden came out in September 2024. So Blue Eyes never had a time to shine as the sole best deck as the other decks kept it down. But then we all coped. I coped that they weren't going to hit the deck because those best decks that outshined them in the physical card game were soon to be released in Master Duel to just naturally do that anyway. To give even more context to why this got hit, Konami has essentially an official tier list of their own that we do post on the website, top cards page. This is from Konami's own words, the highest rank of Master Duel. It's not my words. I'm not, you know, assuming anything, but I will assume that this is at Master rank. And the highest win rate of Konami's in-game analytics, this is globally, everyone in the entire world at the highest rank. So this is the most trusted analytics here from in-game dueling, is Blue Eyes being #1 win rate. Now, there's a thing where you would say a lesser used deck has an arbitrarily higher win rate because only the good players are playing that deck, right? That makes sense. And that is the case with Ritual Beast. Ritual Beast is continually a top win rate deck, and that's because only the good players are playing it. But you can't say that with Blue Eyes. So this is really perplexing with how immensely powerful this deck is while also being the most popular. Let's look at how popular it is. We click on usage. Let's look at the first Blue Eyes card here. We have a Primite Barrel, not exclusively Blue Eyes, but 30% usage. Here we go, 27.4%, or 26.8. There you go. Blue Eyes White Dragon itself, about 26% usage. That is an insanely high usage rate. If you scroll on down, there's no other deck besides engines. The Fiendsmith engine, so we have solely one deck within the usage rating, being the highest used deck while also being the highest win rate. You're not allowed to be #1 of both categories. You have to get hit. But then again, the context of Ryzeal and Malice, which, you know, if you've been taking a shot every time I mention those decks, I'm sorry that you're no longer with us. So yeah, that is something that is really crazy. But let me, there's like so many different layers of context here. this is actually fake news right now. This is not true. It is not this played as much, and it's not this much of a win rate because a brand new card came out. And this data is without the Lacrima Crimson Tears. And with Lacrima Crimson Tears, that further boosted up Snake Eye Fiendsmith, which was the tier 1 deck before Blue Eyes, then dropped down to tier 2 and now back to tier 1 thanks to her. And then also the brand new deck, Fiendsmith Control, being a new deck on the tier list, doing really well because of the release of Lacrima Crimson Tier. Now, without her, this did win a tournament or two, and that's why there's a lot of data from this deck, even without her being out. But with her release, that is what solidified it as a tier 1 super top tier deck, where otherwise it was about like tier 3 maybe. So, and because of that, a deck like this has room to play a card like Ghost Ogre with endlessly other hand traps plus Bestials. Well, what does Blue Eyes not like? They don't like getting Bestialed. They don't like getting Ghost Ogred. So a deck like this, I believe, was dropping down the win rate already of Blue Eyes. We're already seeing a decline of Blue Eyes, which makes me want to say that this ban list is outdated. If Konami strictly used the win rate and usage of the last month to create this ban list, then that was a bad idea, because the Blue Eyes was 30 plus power rating before Lacrima's release. And not only is it now at 24, it keeps on dropping. Even without this ban list, it was going to continue to drop. It was trending downward. And now at the event on this Sunday, I don't even know what's going to happen with the deck now. You know, the semi-limits are not that crazy, but still, a deck that was trending downward, then getting hit again on top of that. Fiendsmith Control, I think, is going to be likely solidifying the #1 spot alongside Snake Eye Fiendsmith, probably. They may be equally rising at the same time. And then, for the last time, I promise, Ryzeal or Malice comes out, knocking all these decks down to tier 2. And then we'll have tier 1, just one deck. It'll take about maybe a week or two into the release of that new deck, of the deck to not be mentioned anymore. And then, yeah, so maybe, again, here's Copium. This is a temporary ban list for Blue Eyes. We will unban right after the World Champ qualifier, after we get everyone else to buy the other deck, and then we'll let you go back to Blue Eyes afterward. Yes, maybe that's the plan, which is really manipulative. So Konami either is manipulating you to buy the other deck in the June pack, or they are solely using the win rate and usage of last month, which is a bad idea, or they just hit the deck and it was a temporary hit. I guess those are the three options I could really have here: temporary or the other options. Okay, that's the only thing that makes sense to me if we want to try to make sense of this already getting hit. I know a lot of you are probably sick of this deck, and I will look at this now. Maybe the player numbers of Master Duel is suffering. Even though it's an anime deck that's top tier, the problem with that is Master Duel is no longer Master Duel. It becomes Blue Eyes Duel. That's all you're dueling against, right? You can let me know in the comments, are you so sick of Blue Eyes that you don't care that there's future decks in the horizon that are going to knock it down a peg because you just want to play the game now and have fun, and you don't want to be waiting for that? That's probably the case. So let's see. Steam charts Master Duel. You have an anime deck as the best deck. So what's it looking like? So the best way to look at this, we are in the month of May 2025. So we're going to look at May, the month of May. We're going to keep on looking at May. So May 2022, we can't really look at that. That's too close to the release of the game. May 2023, average player count 19,000 with a peak 38,000. 2024, kind of the same, 19,000. Actually went up 43,000 peak player count compared to 38,000. And where we have Blue Eyes being the best deck, maybe the numbers, I don't know, they go up or down. Let's see. We have, it looks like it's kind of trending downward, right? We don't have the full month of May, but 17,000 average players. That's a noticeable decline compared to the other years. The best look, you don't look at 2022, but from 2023 to 2024, that being steady and actually seeing an increase, and now you have a decline where your #1 anime deck is the #1 deck, and people are just sick of it. The game is less varied, less variety. People that are actually playing the game care more about fun gameplay than anime being the best deck. The anime best deck people, you know, they kind of, I would say they don't really stick around. They're more casual, right? And the more hardcore, loyal player base is, I would say, this tells me they're not really happy with the meta. And I think this is Konami taking note of that even. You could see April, 20K players average, 18K average for April. That's not good. What the heck? I mean, the peak players went up. Now, a reason why the peak players went up a lot for February and maybe is actually also looking pretty decent here. You could tell me if this is copium, but I think it has something to do with the Sky Striker anime being exclusively in game. Now, of course, people are uploading it on YouTube, but if you want to get the true Sky Striker experience, people are just logging in for that. It's kind of like Pokemon Pocket, where the game is so immensely popular, not for the actual dueling. They're just logging in to collect some cards, open some packs. I'm sure a lot of you listening are also a part of that group of that you don't actually duel. And, you know, so my main point is this 76,000 is not 76,000 duelists. That's what I'm trying to say here. And yeah, I think Blue Eyes was actually just bad for the game according to the numbers. And you tell me if you're having Blue Eyes fatigue. So let's go back on over to the ban list just to see some of the comments here. Spright apology list. Totally awesome. Still hit. That's okay. But man, full power Spright, full power sprint, full power starter. It's at full power. And there was a version of Spright in the TCG that was pretty good. That was not as playable in Master Duel because it was hit. And now, not only is Spright fully unhit, besides Holy Awesome, we also have the Adventurer cards fully unhit in Master Duel alongside the Spright cards. That's pretty cool to see. So we may see, even though this would stop the Beaver normal summon effect, but I guess it would be, if you don't have Beaver, you have this, or you probably just play this over Beaver. That'd be interesting to see, though, with the Jet and Blue going at 3. That's crazy. Okay. Yep, Raziel's coming. Okay, yep. Semi-limiting Blue Eyes cards, presumably before Raziel and Malice came out, is a move of all time. Yeah, so it's kind of the same sentiment that I said earlier being echoed. They're literally about to be power crept. Yeah, but you know, everything else I said, how it's right before the World Championship qualifier, and the win rate stats, and the ultimate copium of this just being temporary for the World qualifier even. Let's see. Branded fans keep winning. Yup. Okay. No. Oh, well, yeah. Hit more. Okay. Sure. Yes. Hit the floodgates. I'm okay with Runics being used to make plays. I'm not okay with Runics just sitting there and banishing cards and stalling and sitting behind a floodgate and winning from deck out. Not cool. Otherwise, I like Runics a lot. So there you go. That is the ban list. I'll be seeing you for the Tons of Leaks stream on twitch.tv/Decade. We're starting 1 hour earlier because I'm going to actually be watching an event at the start of the stream. And if you don't care about the event and you just want some Yu-Gi-Oh! Leaks, I'll be trickling some leaks throughout the sponsored portion of the stream in addition to the rest of the stream. So you're just going to get a ton of leaks throughout the day of that day. So I'll see you there. Thank you very much for your support. We are out.